Welcome to the Unplanners episode 5. What's really interesting about the conversation David and I have been having over this series is we're episode 5 and so much has changed and so much has happened already. Here we are, Friday, April 24th. And this little visual behind me for people that are watching rather than listening is this little doodle that really has been at the heart of my working life for a long time, which is that in the absence of a fixed plan, we've kind of got these spaghetti lines, this ball of spaghetti lines as we have a different path to navigate amongst all the kind of uncertainty and chaos. And that feels really heightened and intensified right here, right now. So David, I'm just curious about what your headline is sitting here on this Friday towards the end of April.
And everything's moving so quickly. So 2 days ago, the conversations that were happening amongst the politicians and the pundits and the commentators was all about, well, we're going to start moving towards this idea of coming out of the lockdown. And then here we are 2 days on, and the civil servants are saying actually it may be much longer than we imagined, right? So think quickly things are changing, and yet things are staying very much the same as well. The sun is shining and the plants are still going to need watering. So where does that leave us? We've got this huge amounts of change going on around us, and yet things are roughly staying the same. I was speaking to an economist friend of mine a few days ago about the economy, and her take was, well, the economy is abstract. You could do anything with it. So it's literally, we need to be doing a show every single day to keep up with how rapidly things are changing, which begs the question, how does a plan fit in with things that are changing so quickly?
Yeah, I mean, that's why the plan is very much past its sell-by date, isn't it? When things are changing incredibly quickly. I like your optimism. I like that spirit. I think that's important for us all to be reminded of. It's easy to go into a state of panic and feeling derailed by all this, especially when one hears how long this current situation is going to go on for. And I think what you reminded me in a very simple way is the beauty that's all around us. I know here in the UK, we have been blessed with sunshine. It's made a huge difference. It's been a gift through this difficult time. And those things carry on. My dog still needs a walk. She doesn't know what's going on. She's still going to wag her tail and want to go out. And, things continue in that sense. So I really like that. And I've been rethinking how, my squiggle, I've been rethinking what's the next version of that look like. I've got this thing up here that says, so what next? And David, in the wonderful way that the kind of internet delivers, you stumble across things. And it was a tweet by the lovely Tina Roth-Eisenberg at Swiss Miss that led me to a Medium post in a few links down the line by Keith Yamashita, SY Partners. And Keith did a wonderful post with this lovely little curve here, which the trauma and renewal. And Keith talked about post-traumatic growth. And Keith put it in the context of what we're living through right now. But Keith also put it in the context of his personal situation, David, because Keith had a stroke a couple of years ago. And what he learned coming out of that is we're familiar, aren't we, with the concept of post-traumatic stress. And what Keith is talking about, which I love, is this concept of post-traumatic growth. And he calls it the trauma-renewal curve. And he said in a little video clip that I watched yesterday, describing the times we're finding ourselves in right now, it's not the life we've planned, but it's rich, it's meaningful, and it's important. And I love that spirit, and I love that idea that whether it's a crisis now, or whether it's having a stroke, or having, a health problem, or whatever might hit us, that as we're down in this dip and we're looking about what next, is that sense of renewal, is that sense of how we all emerge from that. It strikes me something you've said before, which is, I think you said it like this, David, which was all those big things that happen in our life we can't plan for, or we don't plan for.
we never plan for the most important things that happen in our lives. And, you know, no one plans for a stroke. No, we plan for the little things like buying cars, going on holidays. Even, you know, we consider the biggest decision we'll ever make in our lives buying a home. Yeah, but the biggest decision we're ever going to make in our lives is how we treat ourselves, is what we feed ourselves, not just the food we eat, but what we feed ourselves all around us. They're a really big decision. We never plan for those. We're never taught at school to plan to those. We're never even taught to think about them. We'll do some home economics. And what do they cook? What did we really make at school? I remember baking cookies and cakes. Yeah, everything that wasn't good for me. I was pouring pounds of sugar into a bowl. Yeah, and that was my introduction to feeding myself. And we never plan for the most important things in our lives. And maybe because we shouldn't. But what we can do is say, how can we prepare ourselves so when those things happen to us, we are ready, we are stable, we can be the best person we can be in those difficult circumstances and do the best job we can do to move us and others out of it. And what underpins that, I believe, and if I was outside now, Ian, you know the seagulls would be circling, laughing at me right now, because this is my belief. I believe that is driven by optimism, and that is driven by positivity. And you can ask any Olympian standing on the starting line for their race, you can say to them, are you having positive thoughts about winning? Or are you having negative thoughts about losing? And they're going to say to you, I am focused on the win.
I like that. It's playing that video in your head, isn't it? It's playing the video. I remember when I had wasn't so comfortable with public speaking, when I was going through a rough stage, I lost my confidence a bit. It was that thing that people kept on telling me, you got to play the video in your head of everyone clapping, everyone applauding, and it all going well. What do you say? I agree that kind of optimism is the superpower to get us out of this, to get us through this. What about where you can't paint a picture, you can't envisage? I can envisage an athlete crossing going over the finish line. I can envisage a talk going really well, everyone applauding. What feels like the time in which we're living right now, David, is it's hard to paint those pictures. It's hard to visualize. I know we need to. So what's your advice there about when there is such unknowns? We're not sure what life is going to be like when we re-emerge. How do we have those positive visions in our head? How do we have those positive pictures to paint?
So it begins with, let's think about optimism as the engine. And like any engine, it needs fuel, it needs air, it needs oil, and it needs care. So you start with those things. Are you eating the right food? Are you taking care of yourself? And are you thinking about your values, what you value? Because when you know what you value, if you value, and we've talked about this before, you know, if you value helping people in your community, then your short-term, your very short-term goal, we can't have this big plan for as we come out of the lockdown, because that's not up for debate right now. And whatever we imagine probably won't be what happens. But we can imagine how we could help a neighbour, how we could get, if you look at my fingers right now, they're covered in sort of a mix of flour and water. I'll be baking bread for some neighbours. It's something I can focus on. It's one of my values that I can bring to life. I enjoy, I get pleasure from helping people in the community who are maybe stuck right now. What small things can you do today? Because those are the things that are going to make a real difference. And then when you start doing them, the engine starts, and you've got to keep that engine ticking over, right? Because we're coming out of it, and you showed us the curve from trauma back out to optimism. Yeah, you've shown us that curve. And if you turn your engine off, if you let it run cold, if you let the oil sink all the way down to the bottom of the stump and get sticky, then when you restart it, you've got to wait for it to warm up again. You may have to tune it a bit. If all you're consuming is chocolate right now and junk food and sitting there playing video games, then when it comes back to the opportunity again, you've got to go all the way back and start running again. You've got to get your head match fit. So keep the engine running. And if to keep the engine running, it means going out in the garden and turning over the dirt and making sure that the earth is good and ready for planting, then do that. It's staying on top of the little things that you can take control of right now. Doing the washing up before you go to bed, ensuring it's done so you're not going to bed with a mess everywhere. Bake for the family. We can right now. We've all got our kitchens around us, and we haven't got the office kitchen for the £3 lunchtime sandwich. That doesn't exist now. Make a salad. Make a salad that you've never made before. Look for a recipe online. They're the things. Keep that engine running.
I like that. I think that's really important. I mean, I think sometimes the unplanned mindset is thinking about what next and being opportunistic. And I'm certainly thinking and exploring the theme of renewal with my own clients and in my own work. Is what does it look like when we emerge from this? On the other hand, I think there is something about the simplicity of just taking it a step at a time. I know when we checked in with each other in an earlier episode of this, you asked me how I was, and I said I know it was a cliche, but I was taking things day by day. And I think there is a lot to be said for that, which echoes what you've just been talking about. I think sometimes the optimistic mindset is not about painting this wonderful picture of how things are going to be in the future. It's about taking positive steps on a daily basis and taking things day by day. And I think I was having a conversation on LinkedIn with someone yesterday who's in your wonderful city of Bristol, and I was saying that sometimes I think all that we need to do is just keep on putting one foot in front of the other. Sometimes that is enough. There was a lovely quote by Jerry Colonna. I can't remember it off by heart, but the wonderful Jerry Colonna, who's out in Boulder, Colorado, who talks about taking the pathless path when it is enough. It is enough just to be one foot in front of the other. That is enough. We don't need to worry too much about what is over there on the horizon. We're just moving forward and being in motion. And I think that's something that I do in my own life. And I think that you're right, that in increments gets us up out of this trauma and gets us up into renewal. It's like those daily steps of positivity. But I love that sense of optimism being the engine to get us through.
Too often,
nice.
Ian, too often we think we need to be figuring out what is next. And it's only when a pandemic or something huge comes into our lives, and this is a collective, so we're all suffering at the hands of the pandemic now. It's only when something huge comes into our lives that we realise we don't actually have that much control over what's next. But we've gone through our entire lives, through our schooling and through our work careers, being told to think about what's next, plan for what's next, you focusing on the next thing. And this is our opportunity to finally undo the squiggle and focus on what's now. What is now? We live in the now. That is the only thing that is real. Yesterday is gone and tomorrow hasn't happened. We only have the now. And it is a huge mind shift for all of us, even us unplanners that are used to being agile and pivoting, to go, do you know what? I am going to just be in the moment, in the now, and do the things I can do now. Can I lift some weights? Can I bake something? Can I tidy the house? What can I do now? Can I study something? Can I meditate? Can I, listen to my engine and make sure it's purring? And I think that's the challenge for all of us, is that the renewal that's coming, we need to be ready for it. We need to be match fit for it, but trying to second guess exactly what it's going to look like, that's a fool's game. Preparing ourselves physically and mentally for the arrival of renewal, that is giving you the power that when it arrives, you can take advantage of that renewal. Yeah?
Absolutely.
It's like my garden. If I don't turn over the soil, I shouldn't expect things to grow in it. I have to take care of it every day.
And in the meantime, which is happening at the same time of that, isn't it? And we talked about this before, is that sense of clarity that we're all having. about the things that really matter, about where we put our attention. And that's what I'm finding is really fueling me, being so clear about what really matters, about where I put my attention. It almost feels so kind of binary. It feels, you know, I've got this lovely quote up on my pinboard there from Derek Sivers. You know, it's a question. Is it a hell yeah? Right?
Yeah.
Is it a hell yeah?
Hell yeah.
Do I want to spend time with David doing this thing, the Unplanners? Hell yeah. Do I want to go and take my children, get them out of bed? I know they didn't really want to go for a walk this morning at 7:30. Hell yeah. Do I want to spend time after this clipping this in iMovie, uploading it so we can share it with the world? Hell yeah, right? Now, I know there's crappy stuff that we have to do that might not even be a hell yeah. I'm not being naively evangelical about it. But what I am saying is that filter for, I've got some other little side projects that are kind of over here and over there. I'm not bothered about those at the moment because they don't feel to me like they really matter. But how I'm spending my time personally and professionally, where I'm putting my energies, feels such a strong sense. I know we talked before about the whole concept of a compass. Having that as a compass to navigate me through the squiggle, to navigate me up the curve, is by paying attention to what really matters and to what's really important. Because the worst thing would be to look back on this period in history, or to look back in this period in Ian's life, or David's life, or my children's life, and say we didn't, I don't want to be too hard on ourselves, but that we didn't do the things that really mattered. That I could easily go, oh my goodness, you know, revenues are a bit pathetic. I better spend loads of time on this biz dev effort, sitting up here, you know, not being in the garden with my children or whatever. And I think it's hard getting that balance right for people that are running very small businesses like mine and slightly bigger small businesses like yours. But I think having that clarity about what really matters and taking it step by step is the only way we can build that optimism, right?
Yeah, and optimism, we have talked a bit like an engine, but you can also look at it as a muscle.
Okay.
It can fade very quickly, but you can work on it. And like you said, and I love that, Ian, find your hell yeah. You know, I'm going to adopt that every morning. I'm going to start by finding my hell yeah. And every morning I get up, 5:30, and I write for 1 hour. And I have a lovely coffee. I make myself the perfect coffee, which Ian and I, like many of you, coffee is a religion. And so I spend my time making that coffee, and I write for an hour, and that's my hell yeah, done, out of the way straight away. And then I'm, you know, we've got this, and you're right, we're going to look back at this and we go, did we deliver enough hell yeahs? I love that hell yeah. Go find a hell yeah. As soon as you've watched this, go find a hell yeah and do it. And it doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to change the world. It has to mean something to you. And what means something to you will resonate with your values. What are your values? Ian values his family. He values his children getting up in the morning and taking out for a walk. Gives him a hell yeah, right? For me, that writing in the morning gives me the hell yeah. The other, I have a similar one. I like to sit with my son and talk about what he dreamt the night before.
Oh, nice.
He makes it all up. But that doesn't matter. We have this wild conversation that can go anywhere. So I love that. Find your hell yeah. And that optimism that comes, you can build that. You can build that like a muscle through repetition. You take one positive thought, one good thing you've done, one positive thought, and you layer it on top of another, and you layer it on top of another, and you'll be surprised that what you're actually doing is you're training your mind to focus on the good. And your mind can be trained to easily focus on the negative. We all know that. Yeah, we don't have to work hard for it to move towards the negative. We have a mind that's built to negatively forecast. That has saved us through the hundreds of thousands of years we've wandered around this planet. And we're not the fastest on this planet, but by negatively forecasting, if we thought we heard a rustle in the bushes, we ran, and that saved us. And we didn't go, oh, I wonder if that's a lion. I went and poked it with a stick. So that negative forecast is baked into you. Don't be afraid of that. That's normal. And now you have to work extra hard to turn the positive on, okay? Because we are going to come out of COVID-19. We are going to come out of the lockdown. We do not know what it will look like. But we have got to be ready to leverage our own particular talents when we come out the other side and seize the moment and make something happen. And if all we've done is Xbox and Domino's pizza, we should not expect to be at the front of the S-curve on the way out. Yeah.
Harsh but true. I think you're right. I think I was just putting something out there actually that I just remembered that my wife tweeted yesterday, I think, because Margaret Atwood, the novelist, was on the Today programme on Radio 4. And Margaret said, I'm optimistic as a matter of principle. There's no point not being optimistic. You won't get anything done. And that just echoes, what you've been saying. And I think, I know sometimes it's easier said than done. I know that I have those days when I'm feeling like overwhelmed and that I've been watching too many news bulletins and I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I think I just balance that with tuning that out, tuning into the things that really matter, tuning into making the right choices. Right here, right now, the wonders of the internet and all the other distractions, all the other things, we have so many options. My inbox is full of things that I signed up to. The wonderful Esther Perel, the psychotherapist in New York, Belgian lady, running these, lockdown things, the House of Beautiful Business, Zoom, I'll call on this, Zoom webinar, all these wonderful people putting things out there in the universe for free. We're adding to that tsunami right here, right now. But I don't want to shoot myself in the foot. Stay with the unplanners, please. But, it's about making the right choices. There's all this wonderful inspiration out there. I could spend all day watching these things. But I have to tune out and pick the things that matter. Go with my gut feel. Make those right choices. And sometimes the right choice is doing absolutely nothing. Not in the Domino's and Xbox sense. I'm just going to sit. I'm going to sit in the garden. I'm going to stroke my dog. I'm just going to sit and look. I'm lucky, I'm living by the Thames Estuary. I took a photograph with a long lens this morning of a container ship coming up the Thames on its way to London Gateway. And I was like, looks like it's got less containers than it normally would, right? Because of where we're at. What's in those containers? Where's it going? Just being and sitting. It's aliveness. I know we've thrown a lot of quotes into this episode, but there's this wonderful quote from an obituary of Bill Withers, who died recently. And it was an obituary by the music critic in the Financial Times. And there was a lovely quote where, Bill Withers hung his hat up in 2002 and he died in 2020. Someone said to him in the last few years, what have you been doing since 2002? And he went, I've just been living. Let's not underestimate what it means to be alive and to cherish all those things. And what the heck has that got to do with unplanning? It's got everything to do with unplanning, because it's about the mindset that's going to get us through in a world where there's no freaking point having a plan. And I don't know, this climbing out the curve. I love this sense, David, you talked about these things layering on top of each other. It feels like it's going to give us those kind of rocket boosters to get out of that and to climb back out.
It's going to, and it will suppress the intrusive thoughts that we all know can easily leak in at times like this. Yeah, because when these are the conditions that are fertile for intrusive thoughts. We can't see what's coming next. We can't imagine what will be. So we start imagining the worst and income intrusive thoughts. We do not need that. We do not want that. So taking that time, do not underestimate, do not laugh at the point of being positive. Play to your strengths and find those hell yeah moments and celebrate them again and again and again. Because that is getting us ready for when we come out of the trauma, that we can figure out what's going on, but we're not going to be able to plan for what's going to happen next. We can guess what's going to happen next, but that's all it is. what we can do is we can act now on the only thing that is really actually going to get out. And that's as individuals. Yeah, we may network together as self-organizing groups, but we've got to be, you know, as Ian said, we've got to have our mindset right, and our mindset's got to be one of agility, readiness, and positivity.
Wow. Well, I think it's Friday lunchtime. I think we've given a lot to think about there.
Yeah.
Should we leave it there?
I wanted to say, I'm going to ask you, Ian. We'll leave it there. I'm going to ask you what you took out of today, because you asked me last week, and I enjoyed that question. I'm also going to say thank you to Charlotte for inspiring me today to get up and do this, cousin of mine, and also. Yeah, so what did you take out today? That was what I wanted to do. What did you take out today?
I think it's powerful when someone else articulates something you already feel. And when you said to me, optimism is an engine, I think that helped me. You know, I try and be an optimistic person, but I think optimism is an engine. I love fuel. I love engines. There's some language I use. I'm all about energy and energizing. And you helped me see that in a different way. And that's what I've written down with my red Sharpie. So thank you. And what about you? What did you take away?
The hell yeah. Hell yeah, I'm taking hell yeah. I'm applying hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Great. Thanks for sticking with us. See you next time.